Very careful, it'll be recorded for posterity.
Yes.
And who knows where it will end up. Once these things get on the internet,
And YouTube?
oh, that's it. They will, somebody will harvest it and it'll be forever indelibly imprinted in the universe.
Yes.
You want to keep walking?
Yes. So,
So, Swamiji,
yeah.
what is spirituality and how do you explain that to a layman? Or somebody who doesn't understand anything about it and confuses spirituality with being religious.
All right. Well, the first thing is to assess, because what spirituality is can only be felt, it cannot be defined, really. All definitions are limited, and spirituality is unlimited, so the limited can never fully explain or define the unlimited. So you ask for an explanation for something to tell this person. What it is, what spirituality is, what God is something that has to be experienced. It can never be explained. That's the first point. Of course, the next question is, how is it going to be experienced? But in order to begin that, you begin right where you are. You look around. What is it that I see? What are we surrounded with? And what is our condition? What is our basic condition? We are born. Yes, we accept that. We're born. And we live, and to some certain extent we manage pretty well in this world. We can cure our ills even before modern medicine, or maybe even more so than modern medicine. There were methods for curing all sorts of ills. Our grandmothers used to know all these things. But I mean, eventually, no matter how effective all of this is, it ends in death. There's absolutely no question on that. No one has been able to live forever. No one has been able to conquer that. So the point is, physically, our physical existence is limited. As far as the mind is concerned, the mind is very strong and vigorous as long as everything is all right physically. But if some little chemical decides not to get manufactured in the brain, the whole of the mental apparatus also suffers. So here we are. The body dies, the mind can and frequently does become confused, insensitive, blank. There's no future in the body, there's no future in the mind. I mean, is this our only situation? I think this is the basic despair that runs through much of the thought of the world, that really we're put in a very desperate condition. We're put in a situation that's insolvable. We are faced with a dilemma that has no solution. Okay, so if that's on the level of the body and the mind, and it's pretty well documented in everyone's life, what religion claims, and all of the religions make this claim, is that there is an entity that is not the body and that is not the mind. There is something else. And the question is, you ask, what is that? And the first step in the process is to admit that such a thing exists. Or, why should you admit it exists if you have no proof for it? At least admit it as a hypothesis that such a thing might be. Because if that is not the case, if nothing exists except the body or the mind, then we're really in a desperate situation. And there seems to be no good solution. But if we do admit, just as a hypothesis, that there could be something else, then we open ourselves up to the possibility of trying to find a solution. Now, what has been discovered, and what all the religions of the world proclaim, and which everyone, all the religions including and anyone else, have a great deal of trouble trying to prove to somebody else, in fact cannot really prove to anyone else, is that such a thing really exists. So if we then say this as an assumption, as a hypothesis to be verified later, let us assume that such a thing exists. And then let us see what are the methods for trying to make it a reality. Then we can issue our final statement. No, I've tried it. I have followed all their directions. Nothing has happened. There's nothing in it. Really, there's nothing else. In that case, we're just condemned to be as we feel ourselves to be right now. But religions lay down a certain set of conditions. And if you follow those, can you discover this thing? And what are those conditions? The first condition is that you should quieten your own mind. If this is Patanjali makes this statement in the Yoga Sutras, the second verse of the Yoga Sutras, that if you still the waves of the mind, you will find something else. Something else will come up. Some reality will be perceived that you don't perceive now. So that's the whole meaning of meditation. It's not trying to see this or see that, or experience this or experience that. The basic thing is to quieten the waves of the mind and see what comes up. See what comes up in you when you make the mind quiet. And what comes up in you is a feeling, first of all, a very faint feeling, that there is something else. There is something that's present everywhere, that underlies all our experiences, and that has qualities. If you want to give the qualities, they're qualities of sweetness, of joy, of satisfaction. All these things are there. This comes up in the mind when the mind becomes sufficiently quiet. So that is, but you can't explain that to anybody else. They have to be willing to try the experiment. That meditation is one of the methods there. All these other methods are there. But the basic process, the basic theory of all of them is to quieten the mind and then see what else comes up. Something bubbles up from within, some reality you had not suspected before, bubbles up from within and seems to cover all of your perceptions, seems to kind of infuse itself into every perception. You begin to feel the presence of that. That is the only way you can answer anybody. And it's a very long answer, and it takes years. So how are you going to convince anybody? I don't know. But unless you try something like that, I think we'll be going around in circles.
Okay.